welcome to Hexed Countered. My name's Joe. In this video, we will be taking a look at the game A las Barricadas, the second edition. This is from 2015, so it's not exactly a new one, but this is part of the Platoon-Level Tactical Series here on the channel, and this one is from the War Storm series. As I said, this is the second edition, as you can see right here. This is from the Spanish Civil War, so pre-World War II. I've been trying to kind of mix it up a little bit and not concentrate solely on like the same thing. The first game in this particular series that I did was Paths to Hell, which was after this game, but that one covers Operation Barbarossa Eastern Front during obviously the Second World War, the Germans and the Soviets. This one is actually older than that. There were two games published by Compass. Actually, three games in the series published by Compass, one on France, 1940. This one and the Paths to Hell. There's been a couple of releases from Draco Ideas. And there is an upcoming one whose publisher escapes me at the moment, but it's a different publisher. I'll add a note here, a little Klingon subtitle for you guys to kind of correct that, because I don't know it off the top of my head, although I did pre-order it. So, back to the matter at hand. We're going to take a quick look at this game, just as kind of a lead-in. As I mentioned, this is not a new game. This one was released in 2015, so it's not new. You can still find it for purchase. But, yeah, it's not something that is, you know, super easy to find. Just came out, hot new release, etc. There are other unboxing videos of this. I always try to do a little bit more than just a basic unboxing. But this one may or may not be all that basic, I guess. Anyway, let's get into this. So I did pick this up recently, and I did not open it until just before the video, pulled the shrink off. But the first thing I saw, aside from our single gray die here, is this 2015-16 news thing from Compass Games, which it's always kind of funny when you get an older game, and this game isn't all that old. I mean, we're talking, I have some games that I pick up that were from the 80s, let's say. And, you know, this was back in my youth if I had it back then, but now if I get one of those, just to kind of look at the inserts and stuff that are in there for other games and things like that, it's like a trip down memory lane. So this was kind of fun to see, and there is some, here's La Bataille de France, 1940. I'm sure I butchered that, by the way. But this was War Storm Series Volume 2. This one is the first game in the series, I'm pretty sure. So this was the second one. This one is incredibly difficult to find. And back then, you could get it from the catalog for $57. Now, if you go on Noble Knight, it's like $200. But yeah, there's a lot of games in here. You know, I actually have this one. There's several in here that I do have. Here's the game we're holding in our hands. But it's kind of interesting to see the games that Compass was doing back in 2015-16. Heard good things about this one. I would like to have this one, but I don't. And here's Paths to Hell, Festung Europa, 1866, then Paper Wars, End of Empire, etc. So it's kind of interesting to see these older games that are in here. But yeah, that's not really pertinent for what we're doing at the moment, but it is an interesting kind of sideshow. So here we have some counters. So just taking a quick look. Here, obviously, you're going to have the Nationalists and the Republicans in this being a Spanish Civil War game. So you have your Nationalists here, indicated by the colors. You can also see the German. This is a German tank, Panzer I, very early. BT-5. These are Soviet weapons. The T-26. So some of these, it's interesting in a way to play, and I haven't played this yet, so this is kind of just my thoughts on it. It's going to be interesting to play this game because of it being pre-World War II, so you're going to have this kind of mixture of things that were kind of prototypes of weapons that would later become famous during the Second World War, as well as things that were kind of interwar, or even in some cases things that were holdovers from the First World War. Like some of these field artillery here, you know, these are very reminiscent of First World War guns. You have, again, T-26. Now these are in the Republican colors. And the I-15, obviously that is a, well, maybe not obviously, but that is a Soviet plane. The Heinkel 51, obviously a German plane. So, and this is only a half counter sheet. The bottom is blank, as you may have noticed. Then we have a couple more counter sheets as well. Here's our blue die. And we have here some forces. So one of the things that separates this series from some of the others we've looked at is the importance of leaders. Leaders play a big role in this series. If you did watch anything that I did with Paths to Hell, you should be relatively familiar with that. You need these guys to have their platoons be in command, and that enables them to basically do all kinds of things that they can't do if they're activated when they're out of command. So the Avalanche Press game that we've looked at, Panzer Grenadier, also employs leaders. Our lock and load entry, which is Nations at War, that has headquarters. And then you have the Platoon Commander series from Flying Pig Games, which is, depending on what which game you're playing, the rules vary a little bit, but they don't have like leader counters per se. So, but again, the counters have a lot of info on them, which in some cases I've heard some criticism of the counters here being kind of too busy, particularly like vehicles, for example. But you can see like just the squads here, they don't have a ton of, well, I guess they do have a decent amount of space, but basically you have like firepower and range, the unit they're attached to, and their movement rating. But then if you go into the leaders, you start to get a little bit more like that's command range, they have rank, they have their unit that they're attached to, and then they also have movement and some other factors as well. So yeah, so here we have various forces. Obviously these are Republicans based on the color. So the color, it appears, would be kind of this greenish color for the Republicans and this gray color for the gray color would be the Nationalists, sorry. I was thinking about the markers. So we have various markers. You use these for artillery. Then you have fortification markers, improved positions, roadblocks, trenches, etc. All the things you would expect. Finished markers, when a unit has completed its activation, you mark them finished. You can mark them for reaction, which is kind of Overwatch in some other games. Double time, when you want them to move more quickly. They can, of course, be routed. These are double-sided. You have some out-of-command markers here, as you can see. Improved position construction, so you build an improved position. Then you can see some of the backs of the other units, the ones that are not two-step. Well, actually, steps in this one there's 3 steps. For some units, like these infantry would be 3 steps. So there are step markers, which I don't see right now. But there are step markers where they can be reduced. Huh, interesting. I don't see those markers actually. So third and final counter sheet here. And again, this is mostly more infantry, some more leaders on the nationalist side, and then some on the Republican side as well, of course. The red band here on the leaders indicates that is a replacement leader. So, leaders obviously can be KIA, and you may need to replace one. And that's what those guys are for. So then we also have some player aids, as you might expect. There are 2 of them. So these are the same, as you can see, but they are 2-sided. So when I play personally, if I'm playing solitaire, I will flip them over. Because here we have our combat chart with the fire factor and your die rolls. You roll 2 dice, right? They give you 2 dice, so you have a range of 2 to 12, as is common in many games. Defensive values based on terrain. So this one you add up strength and there are divisors. We'll go into combat when we do the gameplay stuff, but it's relatively straightforward. Here you have your combat strength and hand-to-hand combat chart, armored assault chart with the various types of units. So as I said, the armor in this was kind of, in a lot of ways, this war was a kind of a proving ground for the Axis side, the Italians and the Germans who sent forces to support Franco. They said they used that, especially the Germans used that as kind of a springboard towards tactics and so forth that they would employ later on in their own war. And the Soviets did the same thing on the Republican side. So here we have our odds chart, which is important for figuring out what to do on some of these other, in combat basically, right? The defender combat value, etc., and attacker combat value. Again, once we get into gameplay, we'll go through all of this again. But if you are curious in the meantime, because it'll be a few days before I do the gameplay video, you can check out the Paths to Hell video. It's the same exact system. I will be using 2.1 rules for this as well. Then we have our movement chart, off-board artillery, spotting, penetration. Again, with armor, you have to, it takes into account the penetrating power of these guns, which by Second World War standings were very pop gunnish, not a lot of power. And you can see the sizes, 46 millimeter, 35 millimeter. Here we have a howitzer that's a 75 millimeter, but the vehicles themselves weren't mounting big guns at this point in history. Air location chart, and then you have air attacks and so on. The Stuka, for one thing, was debuted during this war, though I don't know that it has a counter in this particular game. I don't see one, but like I said, both sides, as far as the Axis and the Soviets, did use this as kind of a proving ground. Then we have scenario 1 for Liberty. So you get your historical introduction, your scenario length and turns, our map orientation with the map we're going to use. It's map A. And your orders of battle for the Republican side and the Nationalist side, as well as setup information. Special rules for the Republicans and the Nationalists, the historical aftermath, terrain notes. In a lot of ways, this reminds me somewhat of Panzer Grenadier in terms of the way everything is kind of laid out. Similar approach, not identical, of course, but somewhat similar, especially this part here. Because if you play Panzer Grenadier, they have a lot of historical notes at the end of the scenario description. So then you have scenario 2, they shall not pass. I won't go through all of these, but you do have, that was 2, this is 3 and 4, 5 and 6, they're kind of upside down in here. Red Steel, 7 and 8. The Road to Madrid, scenario 9. Blood on the Snow, scenario 10. And we have 11. There's a good number of scenarios in here. Assault on Villarreal. This is apparently a 3-parter. 10 ABC. The Siege of Oviedo. And scenarios 12 and 13. And then we have our maps. There are 4 maps. They are single-sided. These are geomorphic. I won't lay them out. You'll get to see these in the playthrough. I'm not sure what scenario I'll play yet, but just kind of looking at it here, you can see we've got hills with levels. So that's going to provide some interesting terrain on which to fight. This is map A. This one would be the one for the very first scenario for Liberty. And then you have 3 other maps, all of which seem to have hills on them, which is kind of nice. And of course, we have our rule book. Now, this is not the edition of the rules I will be using. This is an older version. But if you are wondering, the rules are fairly similar. There aren't a ton of changes, just kind of refinements. It goes for about 23 pages. You do have the ability to design your own point-based scenario here at the end. And again, we'll kind of go through everything when I play. Some of the earlier editions, the rules were a little bit unclear in some cases, but as they've evolved, they've gotten better and better. And that's true of a lot of games, so I'm not going to hold that against anybody for sure. But that is going to do it for this video. So look forward to a gameplay on this guy here in a not too distant future. I'm also doing my November with the Emperor, so there are some Napoleonic things going on as well on the channel. And the Platoon-Level Tactical Series will continue during this month. It may even conclude this month. So far, I've only done 2 entries for the Avalanche Press entry. And so this one will be followed by either Lock and Load's Nations at War, or possibly World at War. I have not decided yet, because they use the same system. And then, of course, there'll be something from Platoon Commander, which is likely going to be Fatherland, which is from the Long Road, which is World War III. So that one should be a lot of fun. I'll play one of the historical scenarios. Fatherland focuses on the German forces in World War III. Should be a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for now. As always, thank you for watching. I do appreciate you guys taking your time. Please feel free to comment if you wish. Also consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you're not a subscriber. I do appreciate the support. So for now, that's going to do it. My name's Joe. This has been Hexed Countered. And until next time, happy gaming.